Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be talking about things that I really think should be added into Battlefield 2042, or if not that game, hopefully the next Battlefield game in the series. In the last video we went over some of the things that I think should be removed from the game to improve it overall, and so this time we're going to take a look at the other half of the equation. What were some of the essential elements that were missing from Battlefield 2042 that we want to see brought back again? As always guys, if you enjoy the videos here on the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button down below. I will continue to cover Battlefield here on the channel no matter how quiet things get, and you can also expect to see a little bit of mixing in of other games, a smattering here and there during some of the Battlefield downtime. As always, thank you guys so much for the support. So the number one thing, I think, in my opinion, that I really want to see added to the game is persistent servers and a server browser. I really feel like this is an absolutely integral part of the Battlefield experience, not just because it means that finding the experience that you're looking for is so much easier, but it also really sort of fosters the community vibe. You know, whenever you join that community server that you're used to being in and you're playing in there every day, a lot of the time you'll recognize people in your squad, you'll recognize people on the enemy team as well, you'll get a bit of banter going on in the chat, and it just makes the community of online gaming so much more interesting, and that's oftentimes what it's all about for me. You know, I like the community aspect, the social aspect of online gaming, and I just don't really get a lot of that in Battlefield 2042 unless I'm playing with my friends. It really opens up the creative side for people as well. It's a little bit similar in my eyes to modding games. It lets people run wild with their imaginations, and you might say, well, we have Portal in Battlefield 2042. Isn't that doing the same thing, Ghost? Well, yes, technically I guess it is, but the fact of the matter is nobody's really playing Portal all that much. There are a few servers out there, maybe some from content creators, where they've got a community that can help support their server and foster a healthy player base over time there. But I think most people will find that if they try to keep a Portal server going, they just can't get anybody to join, and that's because the front end of the game is directing you towards the base modes in the matchmaking, conquest, breakthrough, and all of that stuff. The second big thing for me is going to be Platoons, again tying into the community. It just really goes hand in hand with a server browser, and I guess I'm in somewhat of a unique position as a content creator. A lot of people want to play the game with me, and I want to play with you guys as well, but I don't necessarily want to have to add every single person as a friend online, right? I've only got like 100 spots, I believe, on my friends list, so having a platoon would be the perfect thing, and indeed that's what I did in past games like Battlefield 4. You could see which members of the platoon were online, you could see what servers they were playing in, and you could just click a button and join on those platoon members' servers. And I also know that there were plenty of platoons that sprung up in Battlefield 4 as well, such as, you know, various clans that enjoyed specific parts of the game, like there was the IDF clan that really enjoyed dogfighting. Obviously, I don't really have high hopes for either of these things coming to Battlefield 2042, but hopefully they are considering this for the next one. Team balancing and switching, I think, is something that would also be part of the server browser experience. You need to be able to switch teams if you join a server and all your friends are on the enemy team. It's just not a great experience. You need to be able to switch teams, and also having an automatic team balancer that server admins can implement to keep things, you know, nice and balanced and fair, I think is a good idea as well. There is definitely a negative side to all of that and server browsers. We've all had run-ins with so-called badmins in Battlefield 4 who will just ban you from a server or kick you, mostly out of spite or because you're just a good player. So it's certainly not without its downsides, and of course matchmaking is very nice and easy, right? You log in, you click a button, boom, you're into a game. But it also comes with a lot of downsides itself, namely having to replay the same map over and over again, which seems to be a problem that Dice EA can't really seem to solve. A higher tick rate is probably one of the things that is very high up on my list at the moment. I can't tell you how much the netcode in Battlefield games frustrates me, especially if you're used to playing a game with a higher tick rate. I think we've all had experiences of being shot behind a wall just as you get into cover. I'll sometimes shoot somebody in the head long after I've stopped aiming at them, RPGs fail to hit helicopters, etc, etc. This all comes down to the netcode and the tick rate of the game, and if you guys are interested in learning more about how all of those systems work with one another, I recommend Battle Nonsense. Chris has a really great channel and he can explain it in far more depth than I can, certainly. But as far as I can see, Battlefield 2042's server and client tick rate is 45Hz on PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, but for the old consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox, it's only 20Hz. Now if we compare this to Battlefield 4, those servers actually only had a tick rate of 30Hz, but then they allowed people to make custom servers that had 60Hz, 120Hz, sometimes even 144Hz, and it was absolutely night and day to play in those servers. And again, if you have a server browser and that community sense, if you want to play in servers that only have a higher tick rate, you were able to do that as long as you could find them. Honestly, I'm not sure if it only comes down to tick rate. I'm sure there's something else, in the back end that's at work here. All I know is that it really doesn't feel great when you die behind cover or you hit a helicopter with an RPG. You see the explosion in game, but the server doesn't register it and you get no damage. So whilst this problem isn't unique to Battlefield 2042, I do hope that it's something that the team are striving to improve with the next game. The next thing I would like to see is a more weighty feel to the vehicles and an improvement of the mechanics such as speed control. If we look how vehicles have changed coming from Battlefield 4, through to Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, and now Battlefield 2042, vehicles have constantly been dumbed down, the mechanics have been removed that presented a skill gap for players there, such as speed control, and they just feel a lot more floaty and unresponsive than they did in previous titles. I think almost everybody is in agreement with that the flight models in Battlefield 4, for most of the vehicles in fact, were some of the best we've ever seen in the Battlefield franchise. So I'd like to see DICE go back. They don't necessarily have to copy the flight models from Battlefield 4, but at least use those as an inspiration instead of going down the path that they're currently going down. I think that Eddie, the lead vehicles designer, and the team that are working with him have been doing some good stuff to try to tweak the jets and the other air vehicles in Battlefield 2042. I'm just not sure they can be redeemed completely, so we may have to wait until the next game and I guess just hope that they feel a little bit better. And then finally, the last thing I think they should add is that portal weapons and vehicles should be usable in all-out warfare. I don't often hop into Portal and play any of the servers there, but there's some really good stuff in there. Sometimes you'll get in an A10, or you'll hop into a Frogfoot, or you'll pick up a weapon that you used to use many years ago, and unless it's a vault weapon, of course, for all-out warfare, you can't use these things. So it would be fantastic to see DICE somehow mesh these two game modes together, bring some of the content from Portal into all-out warfare so that more players can experience it. Now, the last couple of things on my list here aren't necessarily things that I want to add to the game. They're already in the game, but they are in desperate need of a fix. The first one is mouse input. I don't think we really need to go down that rabbit hole. Everybody knows that it's pretty atrocious in Battlefield 2042. They haven't fixed it yet, and it's been, what, 2.5 years or something? So I'm going to go ahead and assume that that is never going to be fixed. But by God, it better be good in the next game. And the second one here is the SRAW. If you guys watched the video of things I think should be removed, Liz's TV missile was one of the things on that list. I do think it's far too overpowered to have potentially everybody running around with a TV missile. I think they should give the TV missile to the gunner seat on the attack helicopter instead, and Liz should then receive the SRAW as her unique gadget. However, the SRAW does need a lot of tinkering. They really need to remove this 4x zoom scope that they've got on there. I think a 1 or a 1.5x scope will be much more appropriate there. They need to remove the large red diamond that you see in-game whenever somebody launches a SRAW, making it blatantly obvious that there is a SRAW coming for you. And I would even say they need to remove most of the audible feedback as well for whoever is the target of that SRAW. I think it's fine that it be a difficult weapon to use, but you've got to make it worthwhile. You can't give away the game with all of this visual and audible feedback, especially given the difficulty of use so far. I feel like it's also got a little bit of weird mechanics going on where it flitters around randomly. Similar to the tow missiles, they've never really worked as well as they have in previous games. So yeah, that is something I hope to see improve there as well. I'm not sure if we are going to get another patch for Battlefield 2042. We've already gotten 7.2. Who knows what the future holds, but, you know, according to what Eddie said here on Twitter, it does look like they want to gather feedback on Battlefield 2042 about things that people want added to the game or removed from the game. Is that necessarily because that's what they're planning to do? Maybe not. Perhaps they just want feedback for the next Battlefield title. But who knows? Maybe we'll see another patch down the pipeline. Guys, as always, I would love to hear what you think about this. Do you agree or disagree with my takes here? Also, feel free to drop whatever things you would like to see added to the game, if there's anything that you think I missed here. Thank you guys so much for watching the video today. Subscribe for more Battlefield, and I will see you guys in the next one.